Alright. I know the game doesn't take place in that galaxy far, far away, but I can't pass up an easy joke. This is Andrew of my channel, Geared Inc., where I gotta share what I'm passionate about with you guys. And today's segment, Game at a Glance, is on Mass Effect Andromeda. Now, as always, this review may contain light spoilers. I always do my best job to try not to give too much away, but I also want to be thorough. So that being said, let's dive in. Alright, so we're going to kick off this review by framing how the story begins. Now, I've always been a big fan of BioWare. In my opinion, they make some of the best storytelling video games, period. The original Mass Effect trilogy, in my opinion, was a work of art. Now, that being said, the ending obviously devastated most fans, myself included. I cried into my pillow many, many nights. Now, what's unique about that is that this game starts at the end of Mass Effect 2, but before the events of Mass Effect 3. What that means is you do not have to play the original trilogy to understand what's going on, as while there are tie-ins, none of the characters are affected by how the events of the original trilogy played out. Now, the preface of the story is that the Citadel Council races, mainly being Salarian, Asari, Turian, Krogan, and Human respectively, decide that they are literally going to go to a galaxy far, far away, the next one being Andromeda, which is the closest one to our own Milky Way, and colonize it. They fill up these gigantic ships with thousands of their people nicknamed Arks to make an intergalactic journey that will take somewhere around 660 years to complete. That means by the time the game's actually starting, all the events of Mass Effect 3 are long and done. Now, character creation is as robust as we've come to expect from BioWare games. If you do not like the default writer, you have 9 different presets of which to choose and tinker with to your heart's content for both men and women. Be forewarned, however, that any deviation from their original facial structure will result in some unique animations, which I'm going to get into a little bit later. My first attempt to make someone who looked like me ended up looking like a crossbreed between Sulu from the new Star Trek and Blade. Now, I don't want to say that the human models are fugly or bland, but it definitely looks like one of the requirements for being on this mission is that your parents are both first cousins. This is a little jarring considering that all the aliens in the game look amazing. The BioWare team really flexed the Frostbite 3 engine to show what it was capable of with these models. It's almost like with the humans, they were kind of like, everyone knows what a human looks like, so they didn't spend much time on it. So BioWare games have always been known for their storytelling. Mass Effect Andromeda is no exception. The dialogue is extremely well written, with characters being fairly interesting, minus that all human characters look very similar. And we get back the wheel of choice, so you get to decide whether your character is emotional, logical, casual, or professional in response to any character around you. This helps shape Ryder's personality through the rest of the game, sometimes limiting the choices that you get to choose later on. Alright, now that we've got the nitty-gritty of that behind us, let's get into the nitty-gritty of character class and combat. Now, most of the character classes from the original Mass Effect 3 are in the game, such as being a soldier or a biotic. Of course, I'm a biotic, because why wouldn't you be? And then as you level up, you get more customization as far as kind of the hybrid classes in between. Now, ammo and health replenishment are managed by finding crates scattered all over the map. It's not the most sophisticated mechanic, but it works. I was personally a fan of Mass Effect's one's overheating mechanic. However, by keeping you restricted to ammo, it does make it so that you have to be more strategic with your shots, as ammo can deplete fairly fast, which, in my opinion, anytime you have to employ strategy is a plus. Now, I personally enjoyed the combat in this game, even though I know not everyone will. Cover is as important as it's ever been, and squad mechanics have been revamped to better allow you to control your team to flank and execute combos against entrenched enemies. The biggest change is the jetpack. It allows you to jump over or on obstacles to gain advantages over your enemy. This adds an element of motion to combat, which I actually found quite enjoyable. Now, enemy AI has always been well done, but as always, they aren't perfect. They will try to flank you and brutally punish you if you get out of cover, but they can also be glitchy and make poor choices, kind of creating a mixed bag of challenge. And of course, if you run out of ammunition, then you have your trusty and overpowered Omniblade to finish the job. Now, something making a return in this game like an elephant on steroids is the exploration aspect of Mass Effect. Now, personally, I really enjoy exploring all the different planets within the game. They've all been beautifully done. The game looks amazing. However, there are a few things that can make some of this pretty tedious. The game has a research and development aspect, which is essentially crafting, which allows you to craft unique weapons or mods or armor, and it's fun. However, to get those resources is extremely time consuming. Alright, so let's get away from that and talk a little bit about your character within the game itself. Now, obviously you're responsible for making all the big decisions, no big surprises there. One thing I was surprised was that the game actually made me care. What this game does is it tries to make the experience personal. There's an element of family and friends that wasn't really found in the original Mass Effect games. Now, what that means is that even though the stakes are different, a few 100,000 versus the entire galaxy, you still feel an impact. And because it is more personal on that level, I ended up actually caring a little bit more about what I was doing in my choices than I otherwise would have, I think, if this was kind of the same vein as the original Mass Effects. Alright, couple quick things to be made aware of. At the time of this review, there are bugs and glitches I'm not going to go over simply because BioWare is aware of them and they are trying to change them right now. One thing I am going to harp on though is facial animation, specifically your character. Now, if you choose any of the presets and don't mess with them, you're probably not going to run into this issue. However, I mess with mine pretty hard. One thing to note is that if you do that and your character is talking, they are going to display weird facial animations that have nothing to do with the emotion they're trying to express. I don't know if this was a default with the Frostbite 3 engine or if simply because of the robust musculature underneath these models that it's essentially trying to overcompensate. But seriously, you tell me if this looks natural. So yeah, if you're going to be messing with your character facial structure at all, just be aware that you're probably going to have to put up with this. So what's the verdict? Well, in my opinion, it's more good than bad. The story is amazing, game looks great, characters are well developed, and combat was fun. Now there are bugs and glitches that you're going to have to deal with in its current state, and if that's a deal breaker for you, I'd recommend waiting a month or two until they get most of that ironed out. Now if you're a Mass Effect fan or an RPG fan, give it a college try, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. I give it a 7.5 out of 10 in its current state. Now if you like this review, feel free to leave me a thumbs up, or if you didn't, go ahead and leave me a thumbs down. Get subscribed. This has been Game at a Glance on my channel, Geared Inc., and we hope to see you next time.